They controlled Indonesia, took over parts of Africa, and even bullied the Portuguese, but when it came to India, the Dutch failed. And not just failed, they vanished. Why? Everyone talks about the British Raj, maybe the French here and there, but hardly anyone remembers that the Dutch actually tried to take over India and just couldn't pull it off. This wasn't just bad luck, there were real reasons. Today we're going to uncover how one of the richest, most powerful companies in history, the Dutch East India Company, just couldn't break India. And what happened next is straight out of a history book no one reads. So here's the big question. If the Dutch could conquer lands all over Southeast Asia, and they had the ships, the money, and the guns, then what went so wrong in India? Because at one point, it looked like they had a shot. Seriously, they had factories in Bengal, ports in Coromandel, a massive base in Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. Yet while they ruled spice islands like tyrants in India, they were more like guests, who overstayed their welcome, and spoiler alert, they got kicked out by not just the British but sometimes even Indian rulers themselves. So let's rewind and see how it all began, because it wasn't always failure at first. The Dutch East India Company, also called the VOC, Verenigde Oostindische Compagnie, was born in 1602. Not just a company but a superpower with its own army, navy, and even the right to make war. Think Amazon with cannons. Their goal? One thing: trade domination. And India was the jackpot. Why? Because India had everything they wanted. Textiles from Bengal spices, from the Malabar coast pepper, cardamom, silk, indigo, opium, basically the whole menu. And most of all, India had ports. Places like Surat, Pulicat, Nagapattinam, and Cochin gave access to the big Indian Ocean trade network. At first, things were smooth. The Dutch set up trading posts called factories in places like Masulapatnam and Chinsura. In 1605, they snatched Ambon from the Portuguese. By 1650, they were deep into the spice trade and spreading fast. They even pushed out the Portuguese from Ceylon, Sri Lanka, a major win. Dutch ships ruled the waters. They fought naval battles, built fortresses, and squeezed out rivals. So, where did it all go wrong? One major reason: they just didn't blend in. The British, they played the political game, making alliances, cutting deals, slowly digging roots. The French, same story. But the Dutch, they stayed in the trade zone, didn't learn local languages well, avoided deeper cultural or political connections, and never built lasting relationships with Indian rulers. Why? Because the Dutch strategy was simple: trade, trade, trade. Not colonize, not govern, just extract. That works in the Spice Islands. But India? It was a different beast. The Mughal Empire was powerful and huge. You couldn't just bully your way in. And later, Indian regional powers like the Marathas, Mysore, and the Nawabs wanted partners, not outsiders barking orders. The Dutch just didn't adapt. Here's where the British really show their game face. While the Dutch were focused on Ceylon and the spice trade, the British were cozying up to Indian princes, building armies, hello sepoys, and turning forts into empires. The British East India Company learned the local power game fast. They backed the right rulers, funded the right wars, used diplomacy to get land rights and trade monopolies. They also started taxing Indian land. The Dutch still focused on pepper. By the 18th century, British troops had taken over Bengal, the richest province. The Dutch tried to hold on, but it was too late. Here's the climax. In 1759, during the 7 Years' War, the Dutch tried a last desperate move. They sent ships to Bengal to fight the British. But in the Battle of Chinsura, also called the Battle of Bidera, the British crushed them. Their entire expedition fell apart. After that, Dutch influence in India flatlined. They lost their major posts. Their trading rights got limited, and slowly, the Dutch faded out of Indian affairs. They still held some posts till the 1820s, but they were minor players by then. The truth is, the Dutch were businessmen, not empire builders. Their strength was ships and trade, not politics and people. And in India, you couldn't win with ships alone. You had to play the local game, form alliances, understand caste, culture, and language. Fight when needed, negotiate when smart. The British mastered that. The Dutch didn't even try, and that's why today you won't see Dutch forts lining India's coast or hear about a Dutch Raj. Instead, it's a footnote, a what-if in the history books. So let's break it down again. Why couldn't the Dutch conquer India? They focused too much on trade, not enough on politics. They didn't build alliances with Indian rulers. They got crushed by the British at key moments. And most importantly, they didn't understand that India wasn't just a market. It was a living, breathing power zone. In the end, the Dutch weren't weak. They were just outplayed. And that's why they ruled Java, but not Jaipur. If you enjoy our journey, please like and subscribe to our channel, and if you like our content and want to support me, you are welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below.